Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Hello, welcome to Constitution Park, where we are hosting our second of our panel discussions for this observation of World Innovation Day. The theme is being innovative just being creative? I will repeat that again. Is being innovative just being creative? And how can policy support? To discuss this topic with me, we have none other than Mr. Dennis Tiaro Leo. Welcome. We have Mr. Jamal Mox Bruce.
Hi.
And finally, we have Mr. Dylan, the sax man, St. Jules.
Hello.
Quite a lovely set of gentlemen, I will say, from music to visual arts. In fact, I must state that Mr. Mox is actually the one who has created our logo for Innovation Day this year.
Yeah, very much so, yeah.
What inspired this logo? And tell us a little bit about yourself, Mox.
Okay, well, first and foremost, I am Jamal Mox Bruce. I am a business owner under the name brand of Mind of Xavier. I am a dancer, choreographer, graphic designer, creative director, and the strip design was actually inspired by a shoot I did a couple of years ago. It was taking something that I've done and giving up the same message and wanting to be creative in finding another way to impact different fields in the innovation sector, in the creative industries, and just making something that could, pull through throughout the rest of the year.
Wow, thank you so much, because I'm loving this print.
Thank you.
Loving wearing it. It's just powerful, and it shares everything under the creative umbrella.
For sure.
So thank you so much for creating that. I see this saxman himself watching me, and let me tell you, each time this man watches me, I get weak. Because when he blows his saxophone, I don't know whether some of you have had the privilege of hearing him, but it melts your heart. Mr. St. Jules, you've been in the field for a while. Tell us a little bit about this man and what has inspired your journey.
I began my musical journey as a sperm. So my father is a musician, and he was able to bring this thing to me. So I inherit music from the beginning, and I have continued till now. So I was introduced to clarinet as my first instrument. My eldest brother is a bassist. Well, he was a bassist.
Sorry.
And he wanted to make that changeover from bass to a blowing instrument. So he bought a clarinet, and then I somewhat tried to sneak out and try to play the instrument. And he caught me, and he said, if I'm going to take the instrument, you will have to start me off, and I would have to learn how to do it properly. So that was my beginning. I might have been about 4 to 5 years thereabout. And then I played clarinet until I transcend to saxophone, and I've stayed with the saxophone until now.
And here's where they say one person can have a huge impact on our destiny. And you speak about the legacy of music, the legacy, that creative gene. And the next gentleman, we know that he is part of that product of a creative gene being infused and metamorphosed, you know the word, into a king. Mr. Tiaro, tell us a little bit about yourself and your creative journey.
Hello and good afternoon to everybody. Pretty much like my colleague here, it started somewhere in the womb of my mother. So when my mother and my father met, that was probably one of the greatest meetings. My father, of course, being this formidable force in the Calypso arena. I can remember as a young man, probably just at the age when you really could remember stuff, maybe by 5, 6 years old, seeing my father sitting, composing, tapping on the window, and putting his compositions together. And I mean, it was rather unfortunate that he had to have passed in such a young age. And somewhere within me, the fire just came, and thanks to a lady by the name of Mrs. Regis from the RC Boys School, she said to me, you look like you have what your father had. And then from since then, I mean, it meant that I took on the RC Jam, I went to the Leoness, I was at the National Junior Calypso Monarch several times. I've won several times as well. And of course, that journey took me into the Senior Calypso, where I started really about 2011 or so. And then by 2019, I was the National Calypso Monarch of St. Lucia. So, I mean, the journey was a really, really long one, but I must say that every step of the way I have thoroughly enjoyed it. And I'm always happy to make a contribution. In fact, just as I was walking up, somebody's asking me if I already have my songs for this year. So people are always excited, and so I'm happy to bring that kind of inspiration to the people, and thanks to my father and everything. So I hope that, you know, this continues in me, and I continue to inspire young people so that the future for this art form continues to grow and continue to come out through other young people.
I love that you've mentioned inspiring others. Mox, I am not too sure whether you're also from the background, a family background of the arts. What inspired you to take on this journey?
What inspired it? I wouldn't say, to be fair, I do have family who was in the entertainment industry for a while. I have an uncle who was a part of Hero Nora Voices.
Oh wow, yes.
And I had another uncle who was in entertainment for some time. I have cousins who were in the performing arts who were part of different dance groups, but it was something I kind of just picked up. It was, I share this story often and it tends to come up odd, but there was just one time at school, I went to St. Mary's, and during lunchtime there was a group of guys just practicing dance moves, and out of boredom, literally just entered the classroom, just tried to learn a few steps with them, and 12 years later I'm still performing, still doing my own thing, to the point where I'm now kind of doing my own brand, under my own brand, as opposed to being a part of a group per se. Everything else is just more or less whatever I put my mind to, literally, through the mind of Xavier. Whatever I put my mind to, it's just getting it out there and seeing how far I could take it.
Now that is inspiring. Again, it's one thing to start. It's one thing to start, but you've been in this field for several years. As for instance, has been the sax man himself. We've known him playing his saxophone for a while. We've seen you, Tiaro, sing for a while. What has sustained you and your creative energy, your creative genius thus far?
Dylan, you want to answer that?
Well, for me, I like the fact that what I do can inspire, especially younger people. You know, I was fortunate to father a son who remained interested in the same art form, music. Yeah, so I felt proud as a father who created somebody. Well, rather what I did had a positive influence, right? And while everybody see me in the music industry, I think the art in me also was able to create a dancer, because my daughter is deeply involved in dancing. So I think more than anything else, I am happy to be able to inspire others, not just my children, but people generally, because you might be surprised that my oldest student is 81 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so especially for some people who think the music is limited to youth, you can start the music at any age. So I personally feel good that I can inspire both young people and older folks to something positive.
I love that you have mentioned that. For instance, talent, finding your creativity transcends age. It is not limited by a particular age, by a particular gender, by a particular time in your life. Would you like to share some, Tiaro, on how, for instance, you have been able to continue being a musician? I know you're a teacher part-time.
Okay, I've been teaching at the St. Aloysius RC Boys School for quite some time. There was a grand shift towards bringing specialist teachers into the primary school environment. So there was the option of information technology, which I had done at the University of the West Indies. Music, I had done music at music school as well. And the option was given to me. Which one would you prefer? And I thought, but if I do IT, how much time will I have to sit and write my calypso and do my thing? I said, you know what? Music. So I took on the mantle of teaching music. So I actually is the specialist music teacher at the RC Boys School.
Oh, okay.
And that in itself has lined me up to a lot of things. For example, the RC has this RC Jam from since, and which I was a product of, and it has been from since 1989 or so. I think it has been around, and I have been a part of it as an artist, and now I'm like the chairman of the RC Jam committee. So I'm responsible. I've been responsible for the last, I don't know, maybe between 8 to 10 years to ensure that RC Jam continues. And where my inspiration really comes from is the fact that I see those young men who participated in the RC Jam just like me are moving up in the music world. For example, we have people like the Mighty Sizzler, a product of RC Jam. We have Lil Nick, I think he changed his name to Urgan. Yes. We have Shemi J. Shemi J was also an RC Jam artist. So these guys have gone on, and sometimes when I sit backstage and I see those guys with me, I mean, somewhere in the back of my head, I'm saying, boy, I hope that man beat me today. But I'm inspired to know that I started him off and helped the stage and opened up that opportunity for them, and now they are going places. So that is the inspiration I get to see the realization of my investment, my time, and see how it materializes in the future.
Now I love that you have stated that your light has been passed on. Because one of the beautiful things about being an artist is you're not performing for yourself. The beauty is when you see you can reach the crowd, they can feel your passion and they can feel your light. Now, Mox, how have you been able to, what are some of the strategies you've used to ensure that the audience is able to feel your art, to feel your dance?
Well, for certain, I would say my art is more or less a reflection of my life and vice versa. And I think it's important that, at least for me, to take matters in one's personal life in order to create something that could be relatable towards other persons. And even besides dance, through the visual arts, through the graphic design, is now creating more ways in trying to bring out one's identity, into trying to hopefully give persons a reason to elevate themselves in different ways. And for me, it's sometimes it's taking the simplest of things, understanding the deeper meaning behind it, and then trying to create something that is even more impactful. Sometimes you have to be transparent with yourself and probably look at an exact situation, an exact scenario, and see how, okay, I'm sure there's more persons who've gone through the things that I've gone through. With the mind of Xavier, there's a lot of mental health issues that could be portrayed in different ways, and again, it's like whether through dance, through drama, whatever the case may be. And I think that's what makes my work create such an impact. It's what makes people turn their heads, and of course the authenticity behind it, because we all aspire to create something that is different, something that is unique, and it's using the things that inspire me, whether it be from here or overseas, and creating it something that everybody can love and everybody can be inspired by.
And this gives me a nice segue into my next question, which is, gentlemen, do you all think that being innovative is just being creative? Because half the time we think about creativity and innovation as synonymous words. They're the same thing. Are they the same thing?
I believe, like you said, the two can almost exist in the same space. But I think innovation is deeper. It's something of the mind that you must go into the mind and dissect it before and think about it and try to realize it. And then the creative part of it comes where it materializes, where you're hands-on with it. I think that's, while they work together, and I think they should operate in the same space, it's important to note where they both actually come from. One comes from the mind, and then they meet at this creative junction where it becomes a reality. That's what I think.
Yeah, for sure. I think innovation comes from a deeper place. And when it comes to taking the things that you've put from your mind onto whatever medium it is, you know, it's a matter of, okay, figuring out how can everybody get an impact from it, not just yourself.
Yes.
You know, this thing with creativity is something that's a little bit more to the self, and innovation is figuring out how can I get more persons involved.
I love that you've brought it to that broader space. How can I get more persons involved?
I was thinking, innovation comes from the thought. So innovation is deep within your mind, your thoughts, you know, and the creativity is actually bringing it to life in the reality, you know. So you have this innovative thought, and when you bring it to life, it's creativity.
So here we have the whole idea of which came first, the chicken or the egg. And it's something that we can discuss a lot, which came first. But ultimately, we know that in order, they are both connected. And we are all creative, some people will say to you. We are all creative. But have we taken the time to truly find a way to bring out that creativity and to ensure that it reaches a market and it's appealing to people? And some may tell you that's where innovation comes from. How have you gentlemen been innovative in your own fields? Because, for instance, some may say to you, there are many saxophone men out there. How have you been innovative in terms of ensuring that the eyes of the audience are on you?
I like this. This sounds like a trick question to me. However, I grew up technically without a father, because my father left me even before I was born. This is something that happens a lot in our scenario. So my father left me with all my genetic strengths, and he went over to Canada. So I was basically left with a mother who worked tirelessly to keep things in order, which means I was basically left to Marshall Road to decide between good and bad. Okay, now this is where most of your innovation and creativity comes to life. Yeah. So I had to learn the ways of the street and decide how I'm going to transfer that into my saxophone playing. And that's why maybe you see me now with a mush where, you know, and it becomes a signature. Okay, so there's a little story behind the mush where maybe I wasn't creative at the time when the mush was born, but I remember I played pan with Diamond Steel for a short time. And a very young kid going out to I think it was the Juve morning, and my grandmother said that I shouldn't go out without covering my hair. And at the time I couldn't get a cap, I couldn't get a hat, and she offered me her mushwe.
Oh, wow.
Okay? Now, since then, that's probably when I was like maybe 5-6 years, I kept that concept of carrying the mushwe, and over time it has evolved to have many other reasons, because that mushwe can easily transfer into a first aid situation.
Your hand gets broken.
I most recently learned something about conserving the heat that comes from the head too. So this mushwe has transferred over time to much more creative and innovative, you know, reasons.
Now you mentioned about your background, and oftentimes we hear about men at risk in our society, that the boys are going astray. How have the arts, I heard from Dylan, how the arts saved him or helped him indirectly. How has art or innovation helped you survive the rough streets of life?
Well, when you get on the stage, I mean, you begin to see yourself as a role model. And that's important. Being a role model means you must exemplify certain values and raise certain standards. And as an individual, you cannot be on stage presenting an idea to the community and to people, helping them, asking them to do certain things and to be guided accordingly, and then your behavior in the public's eyes off stage is a whole different ballgame. So I believe the stage has taught me to be spotless. If I go somewhere and there's an edgy situation there that may turn up maybe some kind of fight or something, just being aware that I have this model to be, I would try to go and quell the situation, or if it's too much for me, I'll move away, so that it doesn't become, I'm part of it. People saying, hey, a big calypso king like that man's supposed to be no better. I hate to hear people say that to me. I prefer to hear, yes, that was very good, son. That was very good. And that kind of thing is inculcated in me. So when I come across people doing well, even strangers along the way, I'd say, yes, that's very good, my boy. Very good, young lady. And as you see, you say those little things, they cannot say to you, but aren't you the man who was just fighting over there? They don't have that to say about you. They say, yes, he's a good calypsonian, he's a good teacher, he's a good... So now you can be an example that people can value, people can respect, because you exemplify what you're telling them in your life. Yeah.
Certainly. And for you as a, because we see again, it's important for you to be a role model, especially when you're an artist. You are the product. It's not a case where you are separate. As you said, Mox, when you create something, it comes from your innermost feeling, some of the challenges that you're going through. You reproduce it and people start to see a particular brand, a particular logo. They see somebody passing it the mushu and they know, this is you. You can't hide. But even in the dark spaces, in your personal space, how has art helped you?
Well, I mean, if I could be transparent for a bit, I mean, for certain, art was something that I've been wanting to do from the age of 8, right? But when it comes to dance and how dance found me, right, the feeling you get from performing. I'm sure you, Tiaro, can relate when it comes to performing on stage, and the personality you get and the life that comes to performing and fulfilling this mission and carrying on a story. I think every artist has a story to tell, right? So when you look at your personal life and how much art has really uplifted so many parts of yourself, it's something, it's spiritual almost. You know, it's something that shouldn't be taken for granted. The importance of having the discipline, right, and having the mindset in order to be out there, not just on the stage, but in the studio where you may be recording, in the spaces where you may have to build networks. It's a major part of that, and it's so uplifting. I know I've said that like 100 times, but it's really something that has really affected my life personally. The idea of knowing how much it's impacted my life, and knowing that this is something I plan to take and run with for as long as I can, and then when it comes to now reaching out to other persons, is hoping that you could then get that same energy from them, you know, hoping that they can now take something, whatever the medium may be, and see how maybe then it could uplift them and hopefully spark some creativity, spark something within themselves in order to change their lives in one way or the other.
So when you speak to how it can change others, because you mentioned discipline, and many times people think of artists, sometimes that is not something they may associate with us, whether you are a disciplined person. What are some of the strategies or some of the qualities that you have had to actually adopt in order that your brand can be sustained?
if I may say, an artist, a real artist, sometimes just try to be themselves. They don't put on any, makeup, whatever. However, the process, the artist represents all the experience that you have had. So, for example, as a young man, I became a cadet. Cadetting is thrive on creating a disciplined young child. As I grew up, I became a member of the police force, as a member of the Royal St. Lucia Police Band. So all this come together, and then you see the artist on stage with a saxophone, but it's a representation of all the experiences I've had. Okay, so I have been fortunate to travel all over the world and interact with other artists, and this by itself would help you develop your own whatever individuality that you are trying to eventually, actualize, if that's the word I could use.
Gentlemen, any of you have had any discussions with anyone in the past, and they say to you probably, I'm an artist, I love it, but I cannot continue? Have you all encountered any such person?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I think there are times even you as an artist have that within yourself, because sometimes you set goals for yourself, you set certain things you want to achieve, and they seem so far. Sometimes they seem like they're never going to come, but then you stay the course and you start to realize, life is not always bread and butter. Sometimes you have to have just the dry bread alone for a little while for you to understand the value of the bread and butter when it comes. So sometimes it's just about being patient. And so after you have done this, like I've done for like over 30 years, 40 something years, I mean, you sit and you reflect, you ask yourself, if you can endure for 40 something years, I mean, you could go on forever, because that's like your whole life already. That's like your whole life already. And so sometimes when I come across people, that's the story I give them. I said, listen, I started doing this thing at 7, at 8. I didn't win one time. Look, I entered the arena senior at 11, in 2011. I didn't win. I didn't make it to the finals. Even on the defense of my Calypso Monarch, when I didn't win, guys met me and said to me, yo, Gassa, you should have won. Don't sing again. And I'm like, but that's not what it's about. That's not what it's about. I came to bring a message, to help people develop, and it doesn't even have to be me winning or placing. The fact is, there's an issue in the society. The Calypsonian is the voice of the people, so I have brought about the message. Once they get the message, as to the value placed on it by the crown or whatever, it doesn't really matter. And so I like the idea that I could inspire young people to know that you must stick around, keep working at your craft. You'll get it one day, and one day when you get it, please don't forget to inspire somebody else. Yeah.
Wow, I see you nodding, Mox.
No, it's true. He's very on the ball about the journey of an artist is not linear. It's something we have to tell ourselves before we can even reach out to other persons and inspire them. I mean, nonetheless, sometimes we can mask the emotions we face, right? And still just tell people, don't give up, just do what you have to do. But internally, we saying like, boy, last week the performance art was already disorganized and I had to do this and that and they do with these people. But at the end of the day, like, you still have to check in within yourself first. It's rough, it's tough. It's one thing, I think you said it earlier, it's one thing to start, right? And in order to keep going, it's a process. It's not just, it's something in our blood. Some of us were born into it. Some of us work hard to reach the positions we are at right now. So when we go out there and perform in these spaces and try to leave an impact, or should I say accelerate our impact, it's a matter of it's a matter of discipline, it's a matter of work. It's really putting in the work, time and years into it.
Yes, Dylan?
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to bring forward is most people who watch the artist sees the final product. So you see an artist on stage, but you overlook the work that gets him to the performance part, okay? Because sometimes becoming a successful artist means waking up early, the discipline of waking up early, probably putting your body in the right, you know, your health, you know, you have to go jogging to keep your breathing right, to blow the sax. So when I'm on stage and I can probably hold a note that would make you feel happy, and you know, it doesn't just come, there's a certain amount of discipline that leads up to that. Even maybe what you wear, the way you wear it, this kind of thing. These are what happening behind the scene, getting the right artists to design, you know, some of the product that will really bring out what you're trying to say to the audience. So a lot of the times we watch the artists performing and we don't go behind the scenes and understand the amount of work that goes into preparing to get to where you are. You know, so sometimes the average artist who is struggling is because they don't have the appreciation of the work behind the scenes. You know, the patience Caro spoke about is when you are there working behind the scenes in the period where maybe you're not performing enough to get the dollars, whatever. You know you have to work and improve the product, you know, for your final appearance on stage, whatever it is. Yeah?
So let's just say that the artist has prepared themselves. And I like that you even mentioned exercise, because sometimes I see calypsonians perform or artists performing and they short of breath. And you wonder what is going on there. And sometimes they don't even take note that I had to exercise a few months before so I can actually keep the audience engaged, because my breathing is vital. Even in terms of exercise, for instance, as a visual artist, you need that mind clear, you need that focus, and all of that takes discipline. So you are disciplined. You have built your fan base. How can we support you? What policies can be put in place to support creatives?
I think when it comes to policy, we are doing a fair enough job in St. Lucia, because we have a lot of different organizations that are actually directing the arts. However, I believe the financial support is not enough. And I mean, that's something that's all over the world in everything. There's never enough money, right? I think also maybe persons who have this thing at heart, persons who are deep in it. So for example, if I want improvements in sax, I would look for a man like Dylan, because Dylan, that's him. I want a good creative to do some work for me on stage. I look for, you understand me? So you need people who have within them the right energy to want to do it. So even with the little resources, they can maximize it and make it do miracles beyond what it really could. So I think the real problem is the amount of investment that is taking place. Also, I don't think the corporate society looks at the possible outcomes and the possible benefits for them. I think, I mean, like, as a business, you always think about what's in it for you. But just like the artist, sometimes the artist has to endure. So sometimes I feel the corporate society needs to endure sometimes. Put a little investment, take it seriously, and keep doing it. It's going to reap the dividends one day. So I think policy-wise, we're not doing too badly. I mean, certainly there's room for some more improvements, but I think more energy from individuals who are really have this thing at heart, and financial support to get whatever resources that we need to keep it going and to keep it growing.
Yeah, I do think the corporate society are going to Tiaro. I do think they take it for granted as to how much you can benefit, like, the outside. Because, like you said, if the calypsonians are the voice of the people, you know, we have Dylan whose music, whose sound has definitely made an impact over the years of the life of, over the years, right? With the arts can really transcend and really take us to levels that I don't think we've yet to experience, that I don't think we've yet to even try to explore. When it comes to more ways we could help or we could gain more support, I can't help but speak for the dance industry. I think there's a huge percentage of persons within the creative industries that do practice dance. And I would love more ways that we could, well, not just in dance, but in the arts, can educate maybe the corporate societies as to how much work is being put into it, as to how much time and effort is being put so we could deliver the performances that we do. And as dancers, I know certainly there is a framework that needs to be put together. I'm sure maybe, or maybe not, we can all relate as to people being unable to define as to who the professionals are versus who the novices are. Especially when it comes to competitions, when it comes to commercial stuff, when it comes to performances in general. Again, that's where the education comes into play as to how much time is invested into what we do, who is certified in the field, who has gone through this person or through that company to attain the skills that they've got. And I think
an artistic registry is needed.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It just so that people are more aware as to, and there's more of there's more solidification as to who is really here and who's up and coming and who is taking who under the wing, who's the mentors, who's the leaders. Not saying it's incapable for those coming up to be a leader, that's where the innovation comes in, right? But how can we then see, okay, who are the other Tiaros and Dylans of St. Lucia that could then reach out to persons and maybe speak to them and inspire them?
So as we round up, because we're about 2 minutes into the end, I am wondering, is there anything you would like to say? Because you mentioned the young Tiaros, the young Dylan, the young Mox. Anything you'd like to say to this young person listening? Or maybe to this person who is older but is now starting their journey, and even to the policymakers, as to how we can sustain the arts and encourage innovation?
For me, believing in yourself is the first step to becoming successful. So, firstly, you must be able to allow very young kids, children, to believe in themselves first. So, for instance, when my daughter decided she wanted to do dance, I know as a parent I need to support her. My son decided he wants to be a drummer. You know how difficult it is to have a kid drumming in your house during the day, but as a parent you need to create that support. Yeah? So you need to support especially young aspiring individuals, and I want to ask that people who have an idea to believe in your idea, believe in yourself, and keep that idea. Make sure you stay with that idea to make it come alive. Because if you leave it, forget it. Yeah?
Thank you.
Yeah, I do believe a support system really is important, especially for the parents who have children in the creative industries. As hard as it is already for us to be in the spaces or to perform on the stages that we would love to connect with the artists that we love to work with, the journey of a creative, again, is not linear. You will be broke for a long portion of your life. You will go through a lot of circumstances where you just have to go through it. It's off of sheer passion, which is something that, dare I say, you develop, some persons inherited, but it's a matter of crafting that. It's a matter of cultivating your passion and see how you could then do it in the long run. I always tell persons, don't be afraid to live in your authenticity. People will call you weird, people will say you're mad, people will say you're crazy, but keep at it, because at the end of the day, you're doing something different, you're doing something that's unique that people have never seen before, so they don't know how to react to it. It's okay to not know where you're at right now either. That's what we are here for. That's what we are here for.
I believe the most dangerous thing you could tell a child or anybody is, you cannot. You're a failure. You will be nothing. I believe that is what we need to change about us. The first thing we need to change is present positive energy to the people we come across. Instead of you cannot, say you can. Instead of you will not, say you will. Instead of you will become nothing, say you'll be everything. Give our young people the positive energy they need to propel them forward. And of course, I can tell you, when you provide them with that energy and they've been propelled in that direction, they will certainly take other young people with them. And the whole society will become a more positive energy place, and everybody will be letting off each other and make the society a better place for us all to live in.
I wanted to add something here. You know, it's usually when somebody misses a fall, you say, be careful. We need to change that attitude to get the person to be careful before they stumble. Yeah? So you find a lot of leaders and teachers or whatever telling the mainly children, do not do something, rather than tell them what to do. So maybe we should change our attitude of telling people correctly what to do, rather than telling them what not to do. Yes. And ask them to be careful before they stumble.
So it's about being positive. Always present positive energy. Because when you give negative energy, it grows negatively. If you want a tree to grow in a certain way from time it's young, you put it in that, yes.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, from the voice of the artists themselves, the creatives, stating that we need to persevere and we must ensure that we nurture an environment of you can, you will, and continue to innovate and celebrate and support the innovative and creative sector of our community. I thank you.